Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in. This is Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. Thanks again for helping us kick off 2017 as we're with you 5 days a week in our series, every single day, Monday through Friday. You can pick up our podcasts. For more information, please go to reradiolive.com. Before we get started, also just a reminder, if you need any help in the way of financing for a purchase, a refinance, or any kind of financing with your properties, residential properties, be sure to contact me at 408-838-9060, or you could always go to reradiolive.com. All right, we'll continue our series of education and information. That's what we do. That's our focus and objective. Anybody that's been following the show for over 6 years now, we work really hard to have great guests like we have today, good content, really with the objective for you, the consumer, to help you make wise decisions in and around your real estate. So let me invite my guest in, Mr. Chapin Hemphill. He is with Keyrenter, Silicon Valley. Good to have you back, Chapin.
Thanks for having me.
Very good. We had a, when we have you in, September, October?
Yeah, September.
Times flies now. As we roll into 2017, we have a great topic for the listeners today, performance management versus property management, which is going to be very unique. You want to stay tuned and listen to this. And basically the concept or the question is, how do you know if property management is working for you? There's a lot of people renting out there. Things are changing, dynamics are changing, technology is changing. But the bottom line is, how do you really know it's working? So Chapin's going to be here for the next 25, 30 minutes breaking this down for us and making sure we know exactly what he's talking about and adding more value to those. If you're renting, thinking about renting, always be sure to contact him. We'll give you your contact information, but if someone wants to reach you about any of this property management, Chapin, what's the best way to do that?
Oh, you can call me at 408-809-5000, or you can go to my website. I've got a shortened URL. It's KSV, which is Keyrenter, Silicon Valley, so ksv.rent.
Very good. All right. Well, before we get started on this topic, maybe give the listeners a little bit of your background and then your current roles and responsibilities with Keyrenter, Silicon Valley.
Sure. So I've been in property management for about 16 or 17 years now. I used to be on the corporate side, overseeing large multifamily portfolios. I was an asset manager, so on and so forth. About 2.5 years ago, I decided that I wanted to start my own company, and so it's been quite a journey since then. It's been awesome. I love it. I'm passionate. It's a lot of fun.
Very good, and he does a very good job at it. Let's dive into the topic because this is a good one: performance management versus property management. So maybe tell us a little bit about what you mean by that, the topic, and what we expect today
to
talk about.
Okay, so let's start with property management. Yeah. You know, everyone has an idea of what that is, but basically, in its most basic form, property management, a property manager's job is to mitigate risk. Mm-hmm. They have their core responsibility is to mitigate risk, maximize cash flow. So traditionally, it's task-oriented management. You have rent collection, inspections, tenant complaints, maintenance, leasing units, tenant screening, evictions, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So performance management takes all those basic concepts, but my interpretation of what that is it's a repositioning of the property. So I've come up with a concept. I love this term. It's called a reposition recipe. And so I take all of the elements that, in my experience, help to reposition a property. We come up with a unique recipe based on the unique features of each property, and we get her done.
Very good. Very good. So you talked a little bit about, you talked about the difference. I know you've created also a top 10 list. It looks like the questions property owners should be asking themselves. Let's dive into that. Maybe you could take us through that, the first part of the the series here, tell us a little bit about what someone really should be asking. And I like this. I particularly like this one because I don't think a lot of people, in many cases, really put a lot of thought into some important decisions like this.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And this top 10 list is something that any property owner or rental property owner should review.
Okay.
Maybe even quarterly, just to make sure they're on track.
Okay.
We as higher level business people, we have budgets, we have performance that we review to make sure with the roadmap we're still on course to perform.
Right.
This is a way for mom and pop rental property owner to pause, take a look at where they are, and evaluate their progress. So I love this list. You can find the list at my website.
Oh, good.
ksv.rent/10 questions.
Great.
But for this discussion, I'd like to focus on the top 3 answers, or the top 3 questions to that list. Number 3, are your tenants happy?
Yeah.
So this is kind of a loaded question.
How to gauge that?
There's a lot of reasons why they could be happy or unhappy. So when you dig into that question, you'll discover some things about your own management or your property manager. What's going on there? Are the tenants being truly managed, or are you just focusing on the property? Are your tenants happy? Happy tenants stay. They tell their friends about how great of a property you have or a manager you are, and your Yelp and Google stock goes up. It's a reflection of the ownership and a reflection of the manager. So that's why it's an important question to me.
Very good.
Number 2, do you find yourself more involved than you thought you'd be or that you want to be?
It's a good one.
If your answer is yes, then I simply ask why. Why are you doing that to yourself?
Yeah.
There are answers out there. Often the answer does not cost as much as anyone would think. And in fact, I could show you how you would net more with the right team in place.
Right.
So you're adding aggravation and you're actually losing out on cash flow.
Okay.
So, and then the number 1 question you need to ask yourself is, what is your outlook on life? This question is really important to me because it impacts and colors your outlook on your business, your rental property. Is your outlook aligned with your property manager? It's critically important because, for a lot of reasons, but I rarely hear it discussed in my business. There's discussion about property performance and tenants, and but what is the overall outlook on how this is supposed to go for you as the owner or or the property manager? So, and that comes down to mindset. Is it symbiotic with the partners in your business? If not, it probably creates friction and conflict. So if everyone has the same mindset, they're open, they're genuine, these are things that provide the space needed to perform.
Right. Very good. That's a good one. So that out of those 3, again, I want to make sure, because this is a great list. If someone wants a copy of that list, they can go to your website and actually
ksv.rent/10 questions.
Perfect. All right. We have a couple minutes left in our first segment here of the podcast. Talk a little bit about the case studies, some of the client experiences, because that's an important one as well.
Yeah, and this comes down to examples of outlook on life and mindset.
Yeah.
So I recently had a client. This is the type of client that assumes the worst, is suspicious. They're always looking for what's wrong. That attitude breeds conflict, and nothing will ever make them happy. So it's a tough one. We've all had clients like that. Right. We've all worked with people like that. But my aha moment was, well, first of all, I should have identified earlier on that this was happening, and simply had a conversation saying, it can't work. It's just not going to. I'm not the right person, or you must do some things in order to allow the good to come in. Completely closed off to that. So That was great. I despite all of there was a lot of good going on at this client's portfolio, but they could not and would not see it. So I'm really grateful for that experience. It really clarified mindset and outlook for me. So I love that example. The second example is a genuine client who is positive and grounded in reality. They want to comply with all the rules and regulations, and more than that, their character their outlook and their character helps to blossom the performance. So it's easy. They're easy clients to work with. They want to improve. They are based in reality. Everything's awesome. So that's ideally what I'm looking for. And then quickly, we have time for the third one. Okay, so the third one would be the ghost ship fire. Okay, so here you have an owner who is, as we're finding out, was very closed to doing the right thing. They were about money. They did not visit the property. They didn't know what was going on. For them, it was purely about owning this property and cash flow, and that is the kind of outlook that leads to tragic and nightmare results. So as we see what happened.
Very good. Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Again, this is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. Today I'm visiting with our podcast with Chapin Hemphill. He is with Keyrenter, Silicon Valley, talking about performance management versus property management. How do you really know if your property manager is working for you? He's doing a great job of laying that out, articulating that. We'll be back with you to continue in just a couple minutes.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Hi, this is Joe Kuchera, host of Real Estate Radio Live and Bay Area Mortgage Planner. In addition to being your home financing expert, please remember you could always contact me for other trusted advisors such as realtors, financial planners, and CPAs. Please feel free to contact me at 408-838-9060. That's 408-838-9060, or email joe at RERadiolive.com, or visit my website at RERadiolive.com for more details.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in. This is Joe Kuchera again with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, Monday through Friday. We're with you. Be sure to tune in. Today's guest we have in studio today is Chapin Hemphill. He is with Keyrenter, Silicon Valley. The topic is performance management versus property management. Doing a good job at really explaining the question to you, the consumer. How do you know if your property management is working for you? We're making our way through that, I should say. Just a reminder, if you need any help in financing, home purchase, refinancing, please contact me at 408-838-9060, or you could go to RERadiolive.com. Chapin, let's jump back in, and actually before we do that, maybe again you could give our listeners, because you do have the list, but on top of that, if anybody's wants guidance, information, I always tell people that, we vet our guests pretty well, and I would recommend if you have any information or questions about property management, please give Chapin a call. Again, if you could let the listeners know where they could reach you, both phone number and website.
Sure. Phone number is 408-809-5000, and the website, ksv.rent.
All right. Very good. All right. Let's kind of roll through, going through it. You did a good job in the first segment talking about the different things, the difference, I should say, and how do you really know if property management is working for you. Did we discuss the repositioning, or did we get to that point yet? Or
we're getting there.
Okay.
So now that you've found that you're working with someone in harmony, that you share outlook and mindset, you're able to make really good decisions. Mm-hmm. It's a good time to start talking about a reposition recipe, as I call it. So repositioning a property simply means most basic way I can put this is if your property, if you give it a score or grade, let's say it's a B, or let's say it's a C,
all right,
and you want it to be a B, what do you have to do to get it there?
Got it.
You don't have to tear it down and build a new property. There's a lot of things you can do to reposition a property. So the question is, where exactly do you focus? What is the best bang for your buck? And do you have the right team to facilitate that quickly? Because you don't want it to be vacant, but you want it to perform.
Okay.
So some of the ingredients for this recipe would include your NOI or ROI, your net operating income. What's going on there? Dig into that, figure that out. So that comes down to income. So income can have lots of forms. This is a great opportunity to really think outside of the box, figure out, are there other areas that you can derive income. In our current Silicon Valley market, we're dealing with rent control, so you really start to have to think outside of the box. So that would include other income. What is your market rent right? How's your vacancy? Are you billing back for utilities, et cetera, et cetera? Expenses. There's always room to improve on expenses, and often with a property manager, you can you can scale expenses a little bit and save money there. Is there CapEx you can do? Are there capital projects you can do to increase the value of your property? And then managing the tenants is huge. Tenants can be very, very costly. As any rental property knows. Yeah. They can be, in and of themselves can be expensive. And then finally, attention to detail. Can you reposition attention to detail? Absolutely yes. That, for me, comes down to complacency versus passion. So attention to detail. If you have a complacent team, you're missing things. If you have a passionate team, you're probably not missing as many things, or you're catching things that you never would have thought of. So those are the basic ingredients of the recipe. So now you take each of those elements and you say, where can we improve? Where are we killing it? Where are we dropping the ball? And restructure the plan, move forward.
All right. You know, one of the things I always like to ask my guests, just about every setting or context, is that because the world is changing, there's so many different things. How can you give us kind of an overview how technology has maybe changed property management, as today, as some people traditionally see it? And then, do you have kind of a window to the future of, every industry is faced with this, right? What is technology doing? Is it improving? Is it changing? Is there new software? Is there new programs? Is there things that improve processes, cost effectiveness? What's kind of your insight on that in the property management business?
I love that question.
Okay.
I have always been looking towards technology to help improve the efficiency of my business. Even when I was in the corporate world and I was given a template of this is how we do it, I was always kind of a rebel that way. I pursued technology. When I first got my iPad, I tried to figure out ways I could use that instead of a pen and paper.
Right.
So I'm always looking towards technology to help make our business more efficient. And there are amazing advances even in the last few years. But since I started in this business, it's unbelievable how much more advantages we can take, that we can use to better perform.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So I think it's really important because, again, this is kind of outlook. This is mindset. If there's always a better way and you have somebody chasing there's always a better way, then I think that's a good partner.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
If you have somebody that says my way is the only way, that's kind of a closed mindset.
Yeah. Are people looking for, I guess, not to assume, but it seems like, especially we hear a lot, for years, you and I know everything was about the baby boomers, right? Everything was about the baby, whether marketing, TV, online. And now everything's about the millennials. And I understand that the transition, kind of the changing of the guard is taking, so to speak, is taking place. The millennials are, I think for the first time, I think in 2015, they purchased more homes than baby boomers. And so you could see this transition kind of changing. And the belief is because the millennials have grown up, more expecting technology, especially mobile devices, those different types of things. Do you see that demographic changing in your business as well? Do you see more demands when you work with millennials versus, or is it too early maybe to tell the difference? Or is, in your opinion, people just looking for better service and the better use of technology? And if you could provide them, does it really matter?
Great question. So, first of all, what I found is that many of my rental property owners are baby boomers, and many of my renters are millennials. In fact, there is a changing in the guard, but there is in general more people are renting today than ever before.
Yeah, right.
So there is a interesting mixture of ownership and renters. The baby boomer rental property owners generally think very traditionally, and I have found working with them to go very well because they take the position of, hey, just tell me what I need to do to be modern and rent the property at market value and so on and so forth. And the millennials love the fact that they can pay their rent on their iPhone. Yeah. So it works out very well.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And expectations, I think that also, and I want you to touch on briefly for the listeners that what you said is that, not to let that kind of whoosh by, is that more people are renting than ever. I mean, what that means, I also think, in the changing of the guards, is that I'm not so sure that home ownership, the studies have been shown that are super, super important to the younger generation that it was maybe to our generation. I mean, that was kind of the first marching orders, right? Make sure you buy a house, do this, do that.
Yeah.
And now they seem to want a little more freedom, a little more, space to pick up and go.
Yes, exactly right.
Some of these things aren't important to them. So I guess that would mean that in your business, there should be a continuance and thrive to grow, I would think. I mean, is there, to me, it seems like the rental market is just going to continue to grow, especially in markets like this where, let's face it, you not only have a lot of people that would rather rent, but then you have the people that may not have a choice, right?
Yeah.
In expensive places like this to live.
Exactly. Yeah. And Silicon Valley is a perfect example of this. If you have a property and you're wondering whether you should rent it or sell it, I would say really, really think about that. Talk to a lot of people, analyze the cash flow because the appreciation keeps going up.
Yeah.
You will be able to rent it. There's more demand for rentals than housing available. And you can make something work. So you're right. Millennials, they want to travel. They want to live here maybe not, 3/4 of the year and travel the other 1/4. They have jobs that allow them to do this. They don't want to worry about fixing their own roof. They want somebody else to do that for them. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good dynamic. Well, as we wrap things up, Chapin, I want to thank you again for being on the show and providing us, again, a lot of great education information because that's our objective, and you certainly did that today. So real quick before we leave, best place to contact you?
408-809-5000 or KeyrenterSiliconValley.com, but an easier way to say that is ksv.rent.
Very good. Thank Chapin for being a great guest. Thank you for tuning in today. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.